Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a terrible rack, 6 vowels including 3 O's. I will probably be changing, and I shall keep the S, which is good, and possibly an A. I can't think of any floaters which would lead me to play rather than change. My opponent's played much for 22. Well, I guess if he'd played a B, I could have played Boo-I. Yeah, there's nothing worth playing there. So, change. And I will keep the A because there aren't many vowels on the board. That's a lot better. I've got the out prefix. I can't see a 7. Ah, well, what about tautologs? I think tautologs is good, but I don't think it plays on this board. That's a shame. Now, what hooks does much have? I'm wondering if it takes an O. That doesn't help me with tautologs. So do I have a bingo of 8 letters? Just a few floaters to consider. Can't see anything through the M. Or the U. Or the C or the X. Now what I can do is play tug across here, which sorts out the duplicate tiles and leaves quite a balanced rack. 19 points. That's pretty good. I have Agistor, which does play in column 9, making Mo and and that has the anagram of Orgiast. And both of those also play in column 12, making tugs. So I should be bingoing with this rack. I'm just looking in row L to see if either of my bingos can play. And they can't. Now, do I have anything through the M or the U? Ah, well, I have Orgastic in row I onto the C of much. Can't see anything through the M. Or the U, although there might be. But I am expecting to be able to play in column 12 or 9. My opponent has got a 32-point lead and is on turn, so my bingo could well lead to me catching up rather than establishing a good lead. Hex doesn't take anything in front of it, and nor does C. And Zoo takes nothing before or after it, so in some ways this is quite a blocked board. I'm looking again at the M of much in case there's an 8-letter play I've overlooked. Now, if column 12 stays available, I will be playing Orgiast rather than Agistor because Agistor stops 1 square short of row O. And Orgiast will also score more because the G will be doubled. My opponent's taking a while over his move. He may be close to a bingo or have a tricky rack. Great, just 21 points. And now, does his play alter anything? CH does take front hook, so I'm just looking in column 7 to see if either of my 7-letter bingos plays. And they don't. So this should give me a slight lead. Or just 75. And that's not great. I don't have a bingo. I do have scoring tiles, and I'll be looking to play off 2 of them, including preferably the W, because that is the least bingo-y. 24 for my opponent. Now where can my W and P play? I don't have anything which goes in front of the U of much. This is a really tight board now. Well, I could play warp in row G, making pi. But that keeps a slight vowel preponderance, so can I do better than that? Onto an E, I would have weepy. Well, what about just playing weep in column 13 or column 11? Probably slightly better in this column. If my opponent puts an S in front of weep to make sweep, he'll be opening up triple word squares in row A. Now, only 22 points for this. This doesn't feel a great play. I'm looking in column 14 to see if I can put my F or P on the triple letter square and have a play involving the F. Can't see a way of doing that, so I think I will go with this. Not great. I don't think I have a bingo here. Perfui would be a nice way of resolving this rack. Again, I have nothing to go in front of the U of much, and I'm looking at that because if I do have something, then a play in column 7 could score quite well if I get to score the tile values for the M and the CH. So what I'd like to do is play off the F and the U and a vowel. So UFO, Fu, Perfui all work. Avid takes a P in front, so I could play Piu. Only 21 points. Pod takes an A in front. So, does that help me? I could play A, U, F. 17 points. Or I could play Fort. Keeping a slight vowel preponderance, but getting a lot more points. Is there something better? Well, I think this is okay. Great, I draw the blank. And although I draw the Q, I've got an I to go with it. I can play Chi in column 14, making AI. That does open up column 15 if my opponent's got an I. 30 points for my opponent. Now if I had an A, I could play Fakir in column 14, but that doesn't generate enough points to justify burning the blank. Now, is there anywhere else to play G apart from column 14? Nothing goes in front of J, O. The rack lead's going to be pretty good here, and if my opponent may well be distracted by the top of the board. And Het takes an S after it, so I've got row L and row M for bingos with S in them, and there's also the floating F and T. And this is quite a bingo-y rack leave. I can't see a bingo with the blank as an S. I have leopard with the blank as an E. Okay, well 32 points for my opponent, that could have been worse. Het takes an E after it. The anagram of leopard is preload. I'm looking in column 7 to see if that plays parallel to much. It doesn't. Pollard is good. I'm looking in column 15 to see if I've got anything beginning with the T. Can't see anything. This feels like there is a bingo here. Dipolar is good. That doesn't play anywhere. So quite a lot of floaters to consider, but I'm also looking for 7-letter plays. So I haven't seen anything so far. I haven't got any floating vowels to consider. That's leopard and preload. Portaled and prolated. Ah, well, look, I have portaled through the T. That's not going to score very much, but it's certainly better than playing any non-bingo. Maybe this isn't such a great letter set. That's dipolar, which doesn't play anywhere. That's pollard, which doesn't play anywhere. Ah, frampold. Yep, that's certainly better than portaled. I have frampold. I've got 11 minutes left. But it's worth spending a little bit of time on this because I now know I am bingoing with it. That's the rack which would be good if there was a 7. I just don't think there is. Poulard. That doesn't play anywhere. Okay, well, frampold it is. And this is opening up the triple word squares in row O, but the extra score justifies playing this over portaled. 80 points. Well, not a great rack, but I'm drawing 7 random tiles. Great, my opponent challenges and loses 5 points. I've got an E for going after Het, but I would need a 6-letter play for it to be doubled, and I don't have a 6-letter play with this rack. 30 points for my opponent. And he blocks the board up a bit, which is good for me because I do have a 40-point lead. Now, I finally do have a tile which goes in front of the U of much, and that's the L. Can I use that to get a... Sorry, that's the N, rather. So I could play Dean, D-E-N-E. 23 points, not a great score. Now, what about O-W? In row C, I could place my V in front of that. Well, that's no good. There are no two-letter V words, and FE takes nothing in front of it. I could play Elven. Well, that's not great at all in column 7 because it places my E next to a double letter square, providing access to the triple word square at A8, so I must be able to do better than that. I don't have to play the V off. But what about playing Neve here? This takes out 2 bingo lanes for bingos ending in S, rows L and M. So although it's providing 2 new bingo lanes in rows K and M and also in column 6, it's taking out 2 much more dangerous ones. And the rat leave isn't terrible. Now, what about playing Delve? Well, the problem with playing Delve is I'm keeping duplicate N. I don't want to do that. Duplicate D and T plus only 1 vowel, so not a good rack. But if my opponent doesn't bingo, I can work towards blocking this board up even more. And I only need 1 vowel to do that. I have a 56-point lead. My opponent's got 13 minutes, I've got 8. There is still a blank out there and 2 S's. And a whole bunch of E's, so quite a bingo-y set of remaining tiles. Possibly slightly vowel heavy. 21 points for my opponent. And he has provided a floating vowel, but I'm looking at playing in column 7 parallel to vowel, which will take out all of the new bingo lanes, especially placing my D next to the I. And if I can place my A here, Deedle doesn't work because LE isn't good. Okay, well maybe if my D came down here. Gosh, do I really not have a play here? My L, T or D could all go in front of that I. Well, I don't think I do, and I've only got 7 minutes on my clock. So I'm now thinking about playing off a lot of tiles. Which isn't easy to do. 6 minutes on my clock. What do I have through the E of vile? Well, I could play landed. This doesn't feel remotely good. The only good thing about this is that I'm playing off 5 tiles. Well, and I'm taking out the best floater. But only 9 points, and keeping a duplicate tile. But note, I'm keeping duplicate T, but there are no T's left, so this isn't terrible. That just feels awful. What about Elan? 12 points. Landed probably better. Well, I am going to play landed. The score is dismal, but I'm really short on time. 30 tiles in the bag. I need to speed up a lot. That's pretty good. I think Rittors is good. It doesn't play anywhere. I've got the floating N to consider. And with a very tight board, I could easily get into time trouble. I'm going to challenge that. I'm not sure about landed. Great. Actually, I didn't pay attention to what my opponent had. He played Keening, and he used the blank as an eye, so I know he's got the eye. So I really do need to block the board up a bit. I've only got 4 minutes left. And this is tricky. I'm looking in column 7 where I played before, can't see anything there. I just need to play off an R and a T, and I've left myself a really good rack leave. 6 points. Shocking. I have orations in column 6 through the N of Neve. Now, my opponent blocks that annoyingly. Keen, I think, takes an S in front. So I'm not going to leave that open, although I'm not sure about that. Do I have a bingo here? Ah, well, orations is still playable. I don't know why I thought that wasn't. Time pressure. Orations 62. Great. I don't have a bingo, but this is a nice balanced rack, and I've got a scoring tile in the Z. Only 12 tiles left. Now, I'm looking at the second O of orations for my Z, wondering if I can get it doubled twice. Don't think I can. Great, my opponent takes out his own S front hook for Keen, although I'm not sure that exists. So, where can I play my Z? I could just play it in front of the O for 20 points. That's not great because it takes an A in front. 3 minutes left. I could play Ms in column 5, making Zo. I could play Buys there. I could play Maisie. And this is going to play off more of my high-scoring tiles, so makes the rack more manageable. Now, what about playing... Well, I was thinking about playing Maze down here, but then that doesn't get doubled. So, what did I have before? I had Maisie. I think I'm going to go back to that. The A next to the double word square is good for my B if my opponent doesn't take it. 41 points is a great score. I may well have missed something better. Not great. I have a 109-point lead. But the remaining tiles are very bingo-y. So my opponent could bingo through my M or my A. But I do have scoring tiles in the Bs, which hopefully will be enough. I can't see a way of playing parallel to orations with my Bs. Well, I could play ebb, et, by and bow. And I can't really use the A of Maisie to particularly good effect with my Bs. I think neb is probably the best I can do there. Nothing goes in front of yo, so my opponent can't play down column 4 with a bingo. Column 3 is pretty good for him, with bingos ending with the first E of keen. So he does have a number of floaters. There is only one E unseen, so his rack might not be as good as it could be. But if my opponent does bingo, he will have 6 tiles, and he won't have any scoring tiles, so he will struggle to go out in 1. But it will still feel like a close ending if my opponent does bingo. The Z's out of action, nothing goes in front of it, and orations prevents any plays after it. Nimb is good, I could play that in row C. 16 points. I think probably around the 20 mark is the most I can hope for from this rack. I note that my B can go after U to make yob, so I could play down here. Now, only 12 points for my opponents, 4 tiles in the bag, so I'm looking to play off 3. I'm mindful of the time, only 1 minute left. That scores 28 points. And I can now see what my opponent's got. He's got 7 of the 8 tiles at the bottom. He plays Garons. 81 points. I'm just going to challenge that. I think it's good. It is. I've got 1 minute left. My opponent is about 40 points behind. He's only got an A. This game is won. So I just need to avoid going overtime and play something. Well, I'm sure this isn't optimal. I'm thinking about playing Uoi, and almost certainly will, given the time. 10 points. I was just wondering if I had something in column 7, placing my U here, but Uoi doesn't play in that spot. Now my opponent will be going out with his A. Where's he played that? At for 8 points. 15L. Okay. And I pass to end the game. And the final score, 377 to my opponent, 412 to me, a winning margin of 35 points. So quite a close game. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. He played much. This was my rack. I changed, and I think that was best. My opponent's rack. He played hex. This was my rack. Nowhere for tautologs. And I played tug for 19, and the rack leave of AOST is better than the rack leave of S, so I think tug is best. My opponent's rack, not good. He played one tile, and I had a bingo, and Orgiast was the highest scoring bingo. My opponent's rack, he played gift. This wasn't a great rack for me. Now, I didn't play wipe, I played weep. Well, wipe would have been better. My opponent's rack, he played avid, and then this was my rack, B12. Oh well, Uppo and Pavid not great, that is opening up row A. So I think my play of fort is better. My opponent's rack, he played Joe, and then this is where I played Chi to get rid of the Q, which I wanted to do as soon as possible since I had a blank. That looks best. My opponent's rack, he played win, and then this was my rack. And I saw Frampold, but I saw Portaled first, then Frampold. I didn't see Portland, and I didn't see Tripodal, which would have been the best play. This is my opponent's rack. Did he have a bingo? No, he didn't. He played Sits, and this was my rack. Delve left the duplicate N, and Neve didn't. So that's fine. My opponent's rack, that looks bingo-y. But he doesn't have one. He played Vile, and this was my rack, and I got a dismal score here. I played landed for 9, but actually there wasn't much better. LNTT is asking for trouble as a rack leave. Danted would have been slightly better. This was my opponent's rack, and this is where he tried glanded and it came off. He didn't have a bingo. And this was my rack. Great, I played this quite quickly. I was slightly spooked by the time and didn't spend long looking for a bingo with this rack, and I thought there could have been one here. There wasn't. I played rot, but not in this position. I played it over here. And I did that because I didn't think there were many good scores available, and there weren't, and rot maximises the rack leave. This was my opponent's rack. He still doesn't have a bingo. He played keen, and I had orations. This is my opponent's rack. Does he have a bingo? He does not. And at this point, I'm 50 points ahead, 10 tiles in the bag. Wow, Maisie for 56. Where's that? Ah, M-A-Z-E-Y. Yeah, much better than my Maisie play for 41, which I thought was quite good. It was, but nothing like as good as Maisie with an E for 56. Now, surely my opponent had a bingo here. Yeah, he's got Alnagers through the A. Let's see what else he's got. Well, 1,000,001 bingos. He doesn't play any of them. And this is my rack. And I played Ebb for 28, and that looks fine. My opponent's rack, does he have a bingo? Yes, he does, and he played it. He played Garons, which was a good spot. And the Garans is also good, quite unusual words. And finally, with 1 minute on the clock, this was my rack. My opponent's only got an A, so this is my last chance to play anything. And D11 even, that's been popping up a lot on this list of options. I didn't spot it in game time. Even across here for 26, certainly better than Uoi. Now where's this? E. Oh, well, E2. Yes, I could have played Uoi down here instead of lower down. But in any event, the game was won, and that was the end of that, a winning margin of 35 points. So, pretty exciting game. I hope you enjoyed watching that and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.